Alright guys, Man United have just beaten Fulham by 3 goals to 1 in the end. And I mean, 10 minutes to go, I didn't see this game going this way because if we're being honest, it was quite a poor performance from Man United actually. And that's quite rare to say when they've beaten what is a good Fulham team 3-1, but it's just the circumstances of what happened in that pretty, I don't know what to say, amazing or disastrous or bizarre couple of minutes for Fulham. So we'll start at the start of the game. So Fulham started out with a really strong team with João Palhinha back in, obviously, and Willian came back into the team for Manor Solomon, who has been in great goal scoring form recently. But I don't know, Fulham just don't seem to have clicked as much as when Willian was in the team. That could just be me, or like from what I've seen, or it could just be the fact that Paulinia and a few other key players have been missing for them. But to me, it seems like they had pretty much their best starting 11 in play today, and they were probably the better side. They definitely looked the more threatening team going forward, and were forcing a lot of saves out of David De Gea, especially early on in the second half. The first half was it was a bit of a dull one. There wasn't enough testing of either goalkeeper, I didn't feel. So yeah, but second half, David De Gea was forced into making lots of saves before Mitrovic was able to get the opening goal, and it was one of them where it's not great defending from Man United, to be honest, because Mitrovic was left free at back post, and you know he's the one person in this Fulham team you look at and think, don't leave him free. And there was someone sort of like half marking him, but nobody had properly got tight to him, it seemed. And yeah, that's where the first goal comes from for Fulham. And they just were playing much better football. For me, one of the best players in this game was Harrison Reed, and considering it looked like he was struggling throughout the whole game with a hamstring problem, like from literally 5 minutes in, he had an amazing performance. And I think as well, it was noticeable actually in the first half especially that near the Stretford end, where Man United were defending in the first half, there were so many players slipping over. I can count Lisandro Martinez, Harry Maguire, Andreas Pereira, Willian, all slipped over at some point in that first half. And when people talk about players constantly picking up injuries, and is it due to, well, muscle injuries or ligament injuries, is it due to the amount of playing time they're getting? But when you look at things like that, when players are constantly slipping over, that can't be helping the situation with injuries and muscle tears and things like that, because you know anyone can slip over, and it's a natural reaction to try and keep yourself upright, and by doing that you can sort of pull a muscle or do some sort of ligament damage. So you know it isn't really much of a surprise sometimes that players do pick up injuries in these situations. So yeah, especially on like a wet playing surface as well. But yeah, United, they didn't get going at all, to be honest, in the first hour of the game, I don't think. Rashford had very little to go off, that there wasn't much being created, and I think you can put that down to pretty much none of Man United's three first choice midfielders starting. Obviously they went with McTominay and Sabitzer in holding midfields, and you know they're decent players, but they're not on the level that Casemiro, Eriksen, and even Fred, who I think has massively stepped up his game this year. I think he had a decent year last year. He was probably one of United's best players actually, but the level he's playing at this season, I mean, for Christ's sake, he was starting for Brazil at the World Cup. That's how good he's been playing recently. And when you consider the amount of quality that Brazil have got in some, like in central midfield, that's like a big achievement for him. and it shows how well he's been playing this season. But yeah, they didn't play their... Well, Casemiro's banned, Eriksen's injured, and Fred was on the bench, because they're relying on Fred a lot because of Eriksen's injury lately and Casemiro's suspensions. But they just couldn't get anything created, really, and they were relying on Fulham getting a little bit over-eager, if that makes sense, and trying to hit them on the counter-attack, and that's where the goal comes from, effectively, and the moments of madness that went along with it. Jadon Sancho taking it around the keeper, and Reed tries to block it on the line, but Sancho holds the shot a second, and then Willian does block it on the line. And I'll be honest, when I saw it initially, I didn't even think of handball, because Willian's hand was sort of down by his ribs, sort of. So it just looked like it had hit him like on the ribs, on the chest, on the stomach, or something like that. And I just thought, fair play, he's blocked that. But on closer inspection, it does hit his hand, and it's one of them where it's like a natural reaction almost. So he's the way you can tell by the way he's angling his body, he's desperate for the ball to hit his knee or his chest. But the problem is the power that Sancho's got on the shot. It's impossible to move your entire body that quickly, so you're going to have to rely on a limb. And Willian sort of just tries to hide that he's going to have to use his hand, and yeah, blocks it with his hand. And the funny thing is, I don't even know if the shot from Sancho was going in. It looked like it was hitting the post. It might well have hit the post and gone in, but it was very hard to tell. And if it was, that's not a great look for Sancho. But yeah, Anthony, to be fair to him, I've got to give some credit to him, because I felt as though he made a huge difference when he came on for McTominay after they conceded the goal, because they just looked so much better on the counter-attack, and it meant that Rashford was played more centrally. Well, he was central towards the end of the game, whereas in the first hour of the game he was drifting in from the left, and it just looked like Weghorst wasn't suiting Man United at all in this game, to be honest. And when Sancho got swapped over to the left, it just seemed to suit him a lot more, I think. And same with Anthony. Anthony just seemed to make a load of difference in this game. And yeah, he was the one who played in Sancho, as I said. And yeah, the debate over is it a red card for Willian. For me, there's this whole argument over double jeopardy. For me, this case, it is a red card, because Sancho's got a shot on goal. Now, obviously I've just said I don't know if it was going in, but we've got to assume that it is, because you can't stop a goal and expect not to be sent off and the other team to get a penalty, because what's happening then is Man United have gone from 100% scoring to 70% chance of scoring because they got a penalty, and then there's nothing else, like no other punishment for Fulham, so you may as well handball it if that happens. So for me, it's got to be a red card in that instance. But I think that there are other cases of double jeopardy where it might be harsh to give the player a red, or harsh on the team to give a player the red card, because if it's like a last man challenge, then the player hasn't even got the shot off, so it's not like there's a 100% chance that he's going to score. It's probably maybe a 50% chance, whereas if you send the player off, if you give them a penalty, that goes to a 70% chance. So, you know, I think in that instance, then it probably is wrong to give the player a red card, in my opinion. So in this case, I think it was right to send Willian off. And for Mitrovic and Marco Silva, it's just stupidity that they are two hot-headed characters. Mitrovic, just, you can't touch the referee, not like that, you know what I mean? You can't push him, you can't get in his face, it's just stupid. And Marco Silva has clearly said something a bit out of order if the referee's just turned from the VAR monitor to give him a red card. So it's just two moments of complete stupidity. And from then on, as soon as Bruno Fernandes put the penalty in the back of the net, it was game over, really. Fulham were never going to hold on. Like, even if they managed to hold on for the 90 minutes, which there was still like 15 minutes to play, they were never going to last the half an hour of extra time. So it was game done and dusted. Sabitzer got the second. I think it might have been his first goal for the club, I'm not 100% sure, but it was a really tidy finish after a good piece of play from Luke Shaw and Sancho on the left. And Bruno Fernandes wrapped it up with just a really powerful shot where he had loads of space, because guess what, Fulham only had 8 outfield players on the pitch. But yeah, Man United are through. It's a bit of a tough one for Fulham to take. I think they've been let down by 2 of their players today. Well, no, 1 of their players today, and their manager. Well, actually, the manager didn't make much of. I wouldn't imagine would make much of a difference, but definitely Mitrovic. They were definitely let down by Mitrovic a little today, because Willian had to do it effectively. Really, he had to try and stop it. And if Willian stops it with it like he did with his hand and gets sent off, and United scored a penalty. United then, once they scored the penalty, they got possession and they just pushed everyone into Fulham's half. Now, if you've got Mitrovic up at the top, who in this alternate reality didn't get sent off, didn't shove the referee, if he's pressing Maguire and Martinez, then maybe that goal doesn't happen. Maybe they don't have the time to spray the ball out to the left. So, you know, Mitrovic staying on the pitch could have made a huge difference to the outcome of this game. But as it is, Man United are through to the semi-final, where they'll play Brighton, and in the other one, Man City will play Sheffield United. I'll just make a quick prediction. I think it's going to be a Manchester derby in the final. And I'll go Man City, I think. I might predict a team to win it this year. I just can't see them going without silverware this season, to be honest, with the form that Erling Haaland's in, even if I don't think that Haaland's necessarily made them a better team this year. But yeah, Man United, in the end, that they just got the bit of luck, more than a bit of luck they needed, and it got them through on a day where they performed quite poorly, to be honest. And I think that could just be down to squad selection more than anything, because the midfield is Sabitzer, Weghorst and McTominay as like a midfield three, or at times with Fernandes as well. It's not at the level of Casemiro and Eriksen, let's be honest. But yeah, they did enough to get through. Fulham, they'll be absolutely gutted about this one, I think. But anyway, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.